Please be advised that in order to foster quality discussions in each episode, we will spoil the stories in each game and text we talk about. Good news is, 90% of the titles we cover are old enough that many of you might already know all about them. That said, we do encourage you to play and read before listening.
Listen up now, when we leave on, get ready for Arcade Bookshop. With your phone, play a game, check it out. Don't be late, listen up now, when we leave on, get ready for Arcade Bookshop.
Do you know that this game was originally supposed to be an Indiana Jones game?
No, but with the whip, it kind of makes sense now.
Yeah, like Temple of Doomy, right?
Little bit.
Yeah, it seems really cool, but that's not true. And I just wanted you to agree with me and see what would happen.
I could only see... He didn't even have the hat, man. He just had the whip.
Yeah, but it totally could have been Indiana Jones. I don't
think so.
I didn't look at obviously you did because you just agreed with me when I said it.
No, if you go to the playback, I'm pretty sure I said, I could kind of see it. I don't remember specifically saying, oh yeah, that's Indiana Jones. I knew that. No. Said I didn't know that because that sounds like a made-up fact.
I should have explored that lie a little further, so I could have really tried to add layers to be able to convince you.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked. I would just be like, okay.
I'm just not a good liar. I'm not a good BSer, and even when it comes to making jokes, I'm not good at it.
Not good. Now, you can't be good at everything.
I don't think I'm that good at a lot of things.
That's
including
your life motto.
Including these games.
I know you suck at playing these games. They've been kicking your ass. But to be fair, these are some of the hardest games ever made.
Are they considered some of the hardest games ever made?
The first three, especially the first two, because of the control or lack thereof. It's not till you get to the Super Nintendo, Super Castlevania, do the controls finally make sense and they're under control so you can actually play the game and have a fair challenge versus what these games would have was just, oh, I just can't jump on the fucking platform 3 inches in front of me because of my character misses and it's really annoying.
Yeah, so I couldn't tell if it was just me or not. I know there's a lot of things about the original games that people consistently make fun of because it's just like impossible to do correctly. Like because I suck so much at video games.
Okay.
I don't know if we've really talked about the ethics of save states or not. Or I know we've mentioned them, but
we've dabbled, and I can straight up tell you as a busy man, I'm all for save states now. If you just want to play the game for fun, you want it to be a fun experience, and you want to beat these games, save state away. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to be like Bryce, who I want to play it the organic, original way and just suffer, and the fucking game freezes and have to restart and just have a horrible time, and you could do that too.
It's hard because...
Yeah, that's why you use the save state.
No, but like... It's hard for me because I always have this thing in my head about people calling me... nobody's actually ever called me this, but like I have that like snowflake thing in my head. That how everyone thinks my generation is just so damn lazy. They don't understand anything about like working hard, actually holding a job, getting like doing it right.
A holdover to video games.
I think it applies to me. It's a holdover because it's relevant to my life. Because since I was little, I've been cheating on video games. And because it's like beginning with my generation, it was accessible that way. It was easy to do. Like in the NES generation, the internet wasn't quite there. So when you were playing these games, you couldn't just go to like game FAQs and look up how to beat these things if you got stuck.
Listen, Bryce, I'm gonna stop you here before you dig yourself a deeper hole. You have some kind of rose-tinted glasses on where you're seeing my generation as this generation of non-cheaters who did it the right way. We didn't juice up and hit dingers. We went and just ate fucking jerky and chewed bubblegum and hit home runs. No. My generation used Nintendo Power, which had full walkthroughs and explained all the things that would be considered cheating nowadays.
But
So other than the save states, we did cheat and we paid to cheat.
right, but that's the difference, I think.
We paid to cheat. You pay for your internet, don't you?
Yeah, but it's just different. I don't know. I just know that not everyone did that. Some people just sat there with it and played it until they could figure it out, or they gave up. But
To make you feel bad, I didn't cheat because I couldn't afford the Nintendo Power, so I did not cheat. I played those games, and a lot of them I didn't beat because I couldn't beat them because they were impossible.
I will say I got all the way to stage 15 on Castlevania 1 without cheating. I did it the way that it was made. And I got like to the end of stage 15. I think that was like right before you fight, I think the Death or Grim Reaper or whatever. And the game froze and I could do nothing. And I'm playing this on, for everyone listening, I played this on the like Castlevania Adventure, or I don't know what it's called, like the combo pack that they sell digitally on Nintendo Switch Online. So I was playing it on a digital, like, updated copy of it, but apparently the version of it that you buy there is the exact, like, port of the USA version of Castlevania, and apparently, according to the internet, it always freezes at that part if there's too many enemies flying around on the screen. So it was just incredibly unlucky. So from that point on, I used save states to get back to where I was. And then once I did get back to where I was, I used a shit ton of save states.
you did not go through the gauntlet on the last level before Dracula organically, is what you're saying.
What do you call the gauntlet?
The big death hallway where there's like Medusa heads flying at you. There is a fucking asshole knight throwing 2 different level axes at you, and he takes 9 hits to kill. So the pattern on the screen is ridiculous. And then you have to get through that. Then you fight the asshole Dracula.
I don't know. I might have gotten through that part. The part that I didn't do, the part that I remember at the end was the part where there's like 5 of those big bats, like the first boss you fight in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get through that. I couldn't get to Dracula from that point. Well, that was the beginning of that was the first stage of the last level, right?
What, the
bats?
Yeah, I think so.
So is the gauntlet part that you're referring to after that?
That's the end. It's right before you get to Dracula.
Okay.
It's
I don't
the
remember.
final stretch of doom.
I don't think I cheated. I don't remember. I gotta be honest, I don't remember, but I probably...
You were cheating so hard that you don't even remember.
Right. So
that's probably so easy for you because you put a save state after every jump.
Probably. But the bat part anyway, I couldn't get past the bats I couldn't actually fight the bats and get to Dracula with enough health at the end. So I just ended up running, like dodging them and running through them. I didn't even fight any of those.
That's probably a good move.
Yeah, and then I don't remember what was between that, but I just know that when I got to Dracula with a decent amount of health, I save stated right before the fight, and I restarted that fight like 900 motherfucking times.
I'm pretty sure you can level up on hearts right before you get in there to fight them. Like, I think there's candles, and you can back out of the room and go back and the candles come back, and you can just do that till you fill up.
I realized that after the fact.
After you died 1,000 times?
Yeah, and then I had like an even better situation. But to finish our thing about save states, I just want to like talk about outside of the game. Like you said, you like them like when you're trying to just enjoy it, and when you don't have the time to sit here and die over and over and over and over and over again, just to play it the way that I like to play games, old games.
Yeah.
And like you said, I really prefer not to use them if they weren't put in the game in its original form. I prefer it, but obviously there are caveats, like trying to finish these games so we can talk about them for the show.
Well, like Earthbound, for example, instead of having to go to a hotel to save every time, if you just save state, you can continue right where you were, and it speeds things up exponentially.
Yeah. I think I use them for Earthbound, but I don't think I use them in that way. I think I used them just so that I would have it to go back to instead of like having to turn my game off in the hotel.
I didn't even save for real in that entire game when I played it. Like, I just
Really?
used save states instead of going to the hotel because it was stupid. It was a waste of time. We got the technology. We don't have to play it like that. We're not cavemen.
Yeah. And that's why
It adds nothing to the game experience to do that except for wasting time.
and it's funny. I remember I think it was one of the first episodes. One of the first two. You said something about how new games are so big and sprawling that you like don't have time for them. But I've actually heard, and I think it's true, that most people who play games seriously and are playing these new games that come out are, I think more of them are people our age than younger people.
Yeah.
Like they're the original gamers. So from what I understand, I don't know if it's altogether true, but from what I understand, game designers are actually making games for our generation still, and knowing that we have full-time jobs and stuff. So they make them with like constant checkpoints and autosaves and stuff so that you never have to worry about like, going through this whole sprawling, in-depth cave or at whatever kind of level, like whatever map environment you're in before you can save again and get on with like your actual life.
Well, that's a really good idea because some of us do have real lives and we can't waste them on a fucking game that has no save, state for however long. It's like, oh, the next checkpoint is 48 minutes away and I have to be at work at 6 a.m. Yeah, not everyone could do that. So that's a good idea. You did bring up an interesting topic, though. You were talking about our generation playing the games that we grew up with. I wonder if the kids nowadays who maybe are just in, teenagers and early 20s, are they looking at retro games like from the 80s and 90s, like how some people look at old black and white movies? Like, I don't want to ever play that. I'm not interested. It's too old. And they just don't have any enjoyable experience because the technology through their whole life has been so amazing that they just look at it like it's just garbage.
I don't know. It's hard to say because that same generation is super willing to play Minecraft.
Yeah,
Which isn't exactly the
interesting.
same, but it's the same kind of point. Like, because our generation still includes those, like, I mean, that would be like 64-bit, would it? Or what would it be? Minecraft.
I don't know. Minecraft's 3D, so it's at least 64.
Yeah. But yeah, so like that's still our generation. And like we've sat with my stepdaughter and played like Mario Kart 64 for hours. But yeah, I don't know. That could also just be like little kids. They're like, I'll do anything. But
Yeah. I guess I'm thinking more along the lines of like teenagers and early 20s who are just, every game they've had in their life is just amazing looking
mhm.
and very detailed controls and story and loads, or probably no load screens or minimal load screens. And then they go back and try to play either one of these ridiculously hard NES games or like a choppy 5,000 hour load screen PlayStation games or things like that. I could see them just thinking, this is fucking, because even when I go back and play like some PlayStation games, sometimes I'm like, God damn it, loading again. I
Yeah.
get mad, like, come on. Or I play like some of these, even like when I went back and played Castlevania, I was like, this is just as awesome as I remember. And then I kept falling in pits and shit. I was like, motherfucker. Like, I was getting so mad because it just took so goddamn long because it was so difficult. I think kids today, their games, I mean, most of them have walkthroughs and guides. We didn't have anything. You had a manual. If you rented the game from a video store, you didn't have a manual because most of the time they didn't come with it. So you didn't know how to, like, what to do. You're just lost and just, figuring it out. And some games, it was impossible to do that.
Yeah. The manual is a good point, and I'm actually going to bring that up in the core of the episode. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what people think, because I know I tried to get my nephew to play even just Pokemon Ruby, and I think I don't know if he was enjoying it or not. I didn't really get details from him, but I know he didn't get at least the time to play it, and maybe a factor of it was that he doesn't really care about it because it's old for him.
Old and boring.
And that's Game Boy Advance.
Irrelevant.
Yeah. I don't know, but I gotta say, like, load screens are a good point. I think it's almost harder to go back to, like, PlayStation era than it is to NES.
I agree.
It's weird. It's weird. But let's get started. Welcome to Arcade Bookshop, everybody, where we talk about video games and their literary counterparts for all of you who love to play and to read. I'm Bryce and as always, I'm here with my pal and cousin-in-law, Caleb James. Today we're talking about Castlevania 1 and Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest for the original Nintendo. And also maybe if you want to talk to me a little bit about Dracula's Curse, Castlevania 3, because
that is an awesome game and you should have played it.
Yeah, I wanted to, but it was too much Castlevania all at once. I did one
It
and
is a
two
lot of
back to back.
Castlevania. When I binged those, I had to take a break before I went to Super Castlevania, which is the best.
Yeah, that I'm eager to play that too. The Castlevania package that you get for all the original games is really cool. It's got something like 6 or 7 games on it. They got Castlevania 1, Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, Super Castlevania 4, which if anyone doesn't know, it's like Castlevania 4 is like a remake of Castlevania 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a remake. I mean, yeah, I guess I would say just like kind of a remake.
Yeah.
It's a better version of the first one.
Yeah, right. It's got, I can't remember all of them after that. I know I think it has Rondo of Blood and maybe Bloodlines.
Yeah, Castlevania X.
Yeah, I think so. And it has like Kid Dracula. I don't know.
That's when it starts to get dooky again. Like,
Yeah.
that was not a very good game.
I think there's one other one that I can't remember right now, but it's
There's a
good
Genesis one that was apparently pretty good. It's like I don't think I ever played a Blood Sport, Bloodline, Blood something.
Yeah, if it's Bloodlines, that's on there, I'm pretty sure. Oh, there's like, I don't know, maybe that's one of them, but there's 2, I believe, Game Boy Castlevanias too that are on there.
Yeah, you want to talk about hard. Like a Game Boy version of Castlevania? Nah, no thanks.
I couldn't do very much of anything on the original Game Boy. Those games were just, I don't know,
Rough.
man. I think that's what we had Battletoads on.
Ooh.
And that was difficult.
Shit.
Yeah.
That game sucks as it is, let alone on fucking Game Boy.
You know, we should probably like slow it down on all the fantastic retro games for the show before we run out. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I guess we haven't done all like super good retro games, but I always get nervous that I'll play all the best games and then I'll get.
Then we'll just have dookie ones left over.
Yeah, we'll just do Oxenfree and all its sequels.
Listen, we still got Super Nintendo, Genesis, Super Famicom. We got 64. Yeah, we have plenty of games and plenty of systems. I don't think you have to worry about us not having enough. Because there's plenty of golden nuggets that didn't, make mainstream. Because, yeah, you have your Super Marios that everyone knows, but there's plenty of other games that are great that we just maybe not even have heard of. Be all right. We'll be okay.
It's true. And
then we could do really terrible games like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and then we could read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
That would be fun.
I played that game, and it is the fucking worst. But I always wanted to read the book, so that would give me an excuse to read it.
How long is it to play it? If it's the worst.
It's not long. It's just super, super shitty.
Okay.
It's really hard. It's notorious.
And something that I just found out that I didn't really, because I've been mostly playing stuff on the Switch and like retro stuff. So I haven't really been looking at anything else, like newer stuff. But I started thinking about getting a PlayStation 5. So I was researching all that stuff, and I was looking into PlayStation Plus, and I newly discovered PlayStation Plus Premium that has like all these old, well, not old, but all these like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3 games collected, and it's like you'd think it would be like a limited amount of like specific games, but it's like a lot of stuff. And it's not exhaustive, so there's not like all the Resident Evils, but the Resident Evil director's cut is there. I think 4 might be there, but like most of the good stuff that you can think of is there. So I think before I get a PlayStation 5, I'm just gonna get PlayStation Plus Premium and play some awesome games from the past on there, and
It's a good idea.
talk about those on the show. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We could do that.
So we played Castlevania games because, well, I played Castlevania games, but Caleb played them like in the past year or so, right?
I think last year I beat them all.
Yeah. So We want to talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula, and some stretched out way we came to, well, maybe Castlevania is a bridge for us to talk about Dracula.
I don't know how you got that. That doesn't make any sense. A game about killing Dracula, and you're gonna make us read a book about Dracula?
I had this wild mind.
So that's a stretch, but I guess we could do it.
I make these connections.
You're a savant.
Just yesterday, somebody dropped a pack of toothpicks, and I knew how many were on the floor.
Yeah, but it's a skill.
And how many?
That's also, it could be autism, but you know, whatever. Rain Man.
Believe it or not, these games are about Dracula, and
I wouldn't have guessed. Every single one too. It's amazing.
And Dracula is a weirdly dense piece of literature. And I just always wanted to play through these games. My brother played, I know he at least played 3, like, a ton. I just went home to visit recently, and I was looking at all of our old collection of games, and that's the only one he had there. I thought I saw him play other ones, but I guess he only played 3. But he said it was one of his favorites. I played the first 3 stages of Castlevania 1 like a million times growing up.
Yeah.
And I don't know I don't think I ever beat the stupid bat as a kid, the first boss. But
first boss.
It was hard to get around. I don't know. It was hard as a kid. I just couldn't do it. But we mentioned the booklets the manuals that came with Nintendo games, and how you, like, 9 times out of 10 you had to read the manual before you were playing. It was like playing a board game. They didn't tell you how to play it when you started the game up, so you had to read the manual.
And they were very helpful. They also gave you lots of clues that you would not have gotten otherwise, which is why I had a hell of a time with a lot of games I played, because I didn't have the manuals to read. So I had to guess, and it's like, oh, how the fuck would I know there's pork chops in the wall in Castlevania unless I saw the manual where it tells you?
Yeah, I literally had no idea about that until you mentioned it to me when I was playing, and I think I might have accidentally found one before you said that, but I didn't really know that's what it was, like that was for health.
A dirty old, because there's hearts in the game, and the hearts you'd think would be for health, but they're not. It's the dirty old wall pork chop. I don't know who put it there. I don't know why it's the size of Simon Belmont, but it's a good pork chop apparently because it gives you health.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I cannot figure out what in the world all these hearts were for if they're not for my health. I've never played a game where hearts didn't equate to making your character feel better. But in this game, that's not the case. It's the pork chop that you see about 5 times in the whole fucking game. It's absurd. But the other interesting thing about Castlevanias, at least, is, and we got to talk about the story now, like the synopsis of it. There, like, in the game itself, there is no real story, but the manuals, each of them seem to give you like a preface to what has happened to bring you to doing what you're doing in the game. Mm-hmm. And admittedly, Castlevania 1's manual story was really stupid because I was looking at it because, like, so on the Nintendo version, the Nintendo Switch version, the collection that you get, when you like hover over each game when you're trying to choose which one to play, it has like a scroll of the prologue of the game, or I guess it's a prologue, the preface to the game. And I read them each before I played, and then I looked up the manual for Castlevania 1. And I don't have it on hand here, but it sounded so stupid and cheesy, mainly because they were afraid to use the name Dracula when they first made this game.
Why? Did they think they were going to get sued or something?
Yeah, but apparently the copyright copyright or trademark or whatever for the name Dracula expired like in the 60s.
Yeah, it's a very old book. I would think they'd be more worried about getting copyright infringement for having Universal's Frankenstein in the game.
Yeah.
I think that would be the more problematic one.
I think they probably just didn't, I don't know.
They didn't call him Frank.
Yeah, they might not have called him Frankenstein, but I'm not sure because let's look it up. Because in the manual, they also name all of the enemies that you encounter. Let's see.
Like the monkey you thought was actually a hunchback.
Yeah. All right. No, they do call him Frankenstein.
Well, that's just inaccurate. You're not fighting the doctor.
No, but
How can
yeah,
they get
that's
away
true.
with that?
Maybe
Well,
that's
maybe it's supposed to be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. They can get away with that. Again, copyright's up. But he looks like the universal Frankenstein.
right.
Copyright for that is not up.
Exactly. I don't know. And Igor too. I don't know. I would think that'd be the same deal. But
I think Igor's fine because he's just. I don't think was Igor in the book. I don't think Igor's in the book. That's a universal creation.
Oh,
so
really?
Igor is not fine.
I never read it, so I don't even know.
You didn't read Dracula yet? Or I mean, Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no fucking Igor. What am I thinking of? Frankenstein did not have an Igor in the book. That's a complete fabrication of Universal movie monster magic.
I didn't know that. But yeah, like even on the enemy names in the manual, they call him the Count.
Huh.
And
That's weird.
now that I'm in it, I could read the stupid thing. It even it gets really Dracula-y though. Like even the first line is "Good evening," which is straight from
Movie monster,
right.
Yeah.
So this one says, "Step into the shadows of the deadliest dwelling on Earth. You've arrived at Castlevania, and you're here on business to destroy forever the curse of the evil Count. Unfortunately, everybody's home this evening. Bats, ghosts, every kind of creature you can imagine. You'll find them all over the place if they don't find you first, because you've got to get through 6 monstrous floors before you even meet up with the master of the house. Your magic whip will help, and you'll probably find a weapon or two along the way, but once you make it to the tower, you can count on a duel to the death. The Count has waited 100 years for a rematch. He's ready. Are you?"
He really needs to get someone to clean that castle. You got pork chops in the wall. It's dirty. There's monsters everywhere. That's not safe. Can't bring children around.
So, I also read something about how Castlevania 1 is... I think it's just Castlevania 1. Maybe there's others in this factor too. But about how Castlevania being one of the most remade games of all time.
There are a shit ton of Castlevania games, so I believe that.
Yeah, and like not only is there Super Castlevania 4 that remade the first one, but I'm sure there's others, but there's also like a PlayStation remake, Castlevania Chronicles.
I'm pretty sure it's one of the most copied games too. Like just the style of it.
Yeah, well that's why there's so many Metroidvania games, because so many people just immediately fell in love with the whole. I think it started with Castlevania 2 and Metroid. But because another fun fact, I did a lot of Googling for this one. But another fun fact, Castlevania 1 is technically a platformer.
Yeah.
Do you know? Well, because the other Castlevania games,
you go through a lot of platforms, I would imagine.
right?
The second
but
one.
yeah, but like because like they call Castlevania a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Because for certain reasons. Like I guess I just learned that I know I discussed this in an earlier episode, but I wasn't really educated on it before. But I guess the main difference between platformers and Metroidvanias is the ability to backtrack.
So platformers, you can only go. No, you can backtrack in platformers. Metroid, you're saying you can't backtrack, or you mean through previous levels?
Yeah.
Yeah, because so Castlevania, you can go to the end of the level, but you can't ever go back. I got you.
Yeah, right. Because so technically, all Metroidvanias are platformers, but not all platformers are Metroidvanias.
I don't like the distinction.
I thought it was interesting. I never really noticed that. I forget why I was talking about that, but I guess it was just a fun fact. But going along with the synopsis of this game, when they made Castlevania Chronicles, they made a much more interesting preface to it. That makes it actually like if this one was with the manual for Castlevania 1, it would make it so much more appealing to play. Not that nobody played it back then, but I feel like it would have been even more popular.
Yeah.
And this is the one they actually put on. It's kind of weird. They actually used this one for the original Castlevania in the collection that I bought of all the original games. So this one goes, Transylvania, a small peaceful country in the heart of medieval Europe. The people of Transylvania whisper the legend of Dracula to their children at bedtime, only half believing it to be true. The forces of good keep a watchful eye over the land, protecting all who live here. But even during the constant vigil, the forces of evil manage to prevail, once every century. Each time this happens, human beings with evil hearts begin to chant unspeakable prayers. This is Dracula, the Prince of Darkness, resurrected upon the face of the earth, and each time he is manifested, his powers grow stronger. Once long ago, Dracula was indeed revived in this manner. However, his ambitions to plunge the world into darkness and build a kingdom of evil were crushed by the hero Christopher Belmont. Following Dracula's demise at the hands of Christopher Belmont, the Transylvanian countryside slept peacefully for 100 years. Then one Easter night, the townspeople were celebrating the joyous holiday with a splendid carnival. But in the ruins of the old monastery on the edge of town, the followers of darkness were holding a black mass to revive the evil count and give him eternal life. They poured a sacrifice of human blood over his remains. As they did so, an ominous thundercloud enveloped the town. Suddenly, a single bolt of lightning pierced the monastery. In that instant, Dracula, the Prince of Darkness, returned to this world to begin a new reign of terror. But all was not lost. The successor to the Belmont family bloodline, a young man by the name of Simon, was determined to rid the land of this terrible evil. Taking the mysterious whip left to him by his father, he ventured into Dracula's castle to face the Count. Alone. Isn't that way better?
That is way better. It's way more detailed. Though it doesn't explain, and none of these games do, why Dracula is evil and hell-bent on turning the world evil. Why is he evil? No clue. I don't remember in the book explaining either.
Yeah, I think that's always kind of a gray area, but I don't know if that's deliberate or not. I know we discussed that, like, because I read Dracula in my, and this is for the next episode, really, but I read Dracula in my, I think it was my British lit class, in either that or this other lit class in college, and I know we discussed that because it's like people theorize about whether or not he's supposed to be like that character. They talk about it in the Francis Coppola movie, like he used to be that warrior.
I think that comes up in the book from what I remember, but again, I don't think it's really explained in detail. Like, it doesn't explain why he's evil other than the devil or something along those lines.
Right. We'll go more into that in the book episode, but I know they do call him a warrior in the book, or he refers to himself that way or something like that. There's that. But yeah, the games don't really do anything to that effect to explain anything about why he's...
Sorry, Mindy brought me green tomatoes.
Oh.
Thank you. You're the best. I'm going to eat these through the whole episode. I won't eat the rest of those through the whole episode. It's actually really good, though. Yeah, I don't know, but just a completely awkward segue, because it's just popped into my head. How badass would it be if someone was able to go back to the old NES games and somehow change out Simon Belmont for one of the guys from fucking Contra, and you just go through the castle with fucking bazookas and machine guns, and you're just, imagine a Ghouls and Goblin game, but you're the Contra guys. That'd be awesome. Like, it would be like revenge. It would be the best revenge you can have on these old games that pissed you off so much. You just bazooka everybody.
Somebody has to have done that. Like, that's got to be possible.
If not, I need to learn how to create that game.
Yeah.
Because I would love to play every Castlevania game, every Zelda game, just every game that ever pissed me off because it was stupidly difficult or something. Zelda games aren't, but the second Zelda was. And just go through with bazookas is what I'm saying. You need machine guns and bazookas. And then for some reason I redo Contra, but it's just your Simon Belmont with your shitty whip and you're fighting aliens and it's horrible.
Yeah, that would be fucking awesome. Especially whenever you get to those goddamn Medusa heads.
Oh, yeah. Why do we all of a sudden throw Greek mythology into this game about Dracula?
That was the one thing I didn't get, because, like, the cool thing about the game is that even though there's not actual story in the gameplay, they have fun with like the people who made it are clearly like movie and story fans. Even though they don't like talk story in the game, they use things from the what do you call it? From the stories that these characters and enemies are from to flesh the game out. Like they use mummies and they use Frankenstein and Igor and Dracula, obviously, and with that you have like religious artifacts and superstitious things, religious, like, I don't know, like there's holy water as a weapon. There's crosses. In the second game, you get garlic and like crystals and stuff. So like they have all these like classic horror movie characters in there, and they clearly they clearly were inspired by the movies specifically, because at the end, I guess spoiler alert, but at the end in the credits, they act like it's been they act as if you've been watching a movie. So they say like Frankenstein is played by this person.
Instead of Boris Karloff, it's like Morris.
They spoof the actor names who played them in the original. Yeah,
story by Bram Stoker instead of Bram Stoker. Fucking garbage.
But
very stupid, but it's and unfunny.
It's I thought it was kind of cool.
Dorky.
But then to that same effect, it's like they use all these horror inspired characters and themes and items, and then they have Medusa in there. I was like, where does that fit in?
I guess just Medusa's cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even the boss fight was really easy. It took me like seconds.
It's still better than the villains from the Castlevania 64 version with the Frankenstein with the chainsaw arm. They have fucking skeletons on motorcycles in the 1850s. Doesn't make any sense. So at least this one, for the most part, went along with Dracula outside of the Medusa heads. I don't know where that falls in. It makes no sense, but it's still cool.
Yeah. And regardless, this fucking Medusa, there's a Medusa boss, I guess, let's say the Medusa Queen or something. And but the majority of the game, there's these Medusa heads, which you've all probably played it, but they like zigzag across the screen in a somewhat unpredictable manner, and they just always fuck you up. Like no matter how prepared you feel like you are, they always fuck you up.
They're jerks.
Yeah,
I don't like them. And they fly in a stupid pattern, and they piss you, and they're in every fucking game, and they're always a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I think they were a little more manageable in Simon's Quest.
That game was a little more spaced out, it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as relentless because it wasn't linear.
Yeah. And let's move to Simon's Quest in a second. But the one thing that I really want to talk about with 2 or with 1 is, and we can hop back and forth after this, but the fucking stairs in Castlevania 1.
Yeah. They suck in Castlevania 1, Castlevania 3, and a lot of other Castlevania iterations. The stairs are your biggest downfall next to the water, and the fact that if you get hit, you always fall backwards. Yeah. All those things are what make a Castlevania game. They're not for the good reason. Like when I said Super Castlevania was great because you weren't fighting the controls. That's one of the main things. Like you're not dying on the stairs because, or they're not just a pain in the ass to get up for one, but you don't just get blasted because you're defenseless on the stairs. The fucking stairs suck.
And like if you don't press down, if you're trying to go down the stairs, you just fall down them or something like that. If it's like
fall through the stairs and die.
Yeah, like it's so ridiculous.
There's so many times I've jumped a platform, missed, and then fell through the stairs and died. And I'm like, why did I fall through the stairs? How thin are they?
Yeah. Oh my god, that drove me so nuts. I think it was the second level, stage 1, or not stage 1, but like it would be stage 3. No, stage 4, because that is the first level of the first stage of the second level. I think it was that one. It was like you start out, and that's the first time you see the hunchbacks, and but
they're really annoying too.
Yeah, I kind of figured out how to manage them. I never figured out how to manage either the Medusa heads or the knights that threw the axes. I mean, I figured it out, but it never went well.
No, you just get fucked up.
Those drove me absolutely nuts.
You should watch a speedrunner beat it real quick and just like how did this guy do this? Because you literally just have to practice the same maneuver over and over and over on every part to be able to get through that, and that's not
Yeah.
fun at all. I wouldn't like that.
No, to be honest, that's part of what makes me feel good when I don't cheat, because that was like when I played Metroid Dread and I got to the end boss, and all I could do, if I didn't want to like look anything up, all I could do was just keep trying, and eventually I did it. So it does feel really good when you do something over and over and over again to the point that you just know how the game has been made and you can just like manipulate it. But oh my god, what a pain in the ass. Like and that's again, it's like if it wasn't for the fact that these games were so expensive always and you just had that game for a very long time, it was like, well, I have to play this or I play nothing. Back when they were originally out, I think everyone would just give up on them because they're just so frustrating.
Could you imagine being 7 years old and you got for Christmas Castlevania on NES and you're really excited because it's got Draculas and Frankensteins and werewolves and all kinds of monsters. The ambiance is amazing. There's cemetery. There's all kinds of cool shit. The color's great. The music's great. And then you play it and you just keep getting slaughtered over and over and over. Because unlike when you're a little older and you get better and you progress as you play, when you're young, like between 5 and 8, that's like the age where you just kind of suck. Like, you're not gonna really get that much better. You just don't have the ability or the motor skills yet to master a level. So that would be very, very awful. Then your older brother comes and just beats it, and you feel like a piece of shit even more. That was my experience.
On a different, like the other side of that coin is that the difficulty is sort of their saving grace for being such short games. Like, I never realized how short Castlevania is. Because if you could just beat it, if you could just go straight through it, and it wasn't challenging, you could beat it in like 2 hours. Maybe 2 or 3.
Well, I'm looking up the speed run record, and it is 10 minutes and 45 seconds.
Well, there you go.
If you were really good at the Castlevania, under 11 minutes, you could beat the game.
Right. But like nobody does that your first time.
Yeah, that's how much actual gameplay there is.
Yeah, it's insane to think that. It probably took me like 7 or 8, if not more, longer, like definitely hours to beat that game.
It took me quite a while too, because I like you, I actually did not cheat when I first played through, and I also was afflicted with the freeze at the end, that made me rage quit.
Yeah.
But I played that one straight. I did not play Simon's Quest straight. Not so much save states or anything, just looking shit up because I didn't have time to fuck around with that nonsense.
Shit's nuts. Simon's Quest. It also has that preface in the manual for Simon's Quest. Not as good. Not as good. Better than the first one, the first original one, but it's kind of just like a short bridge from Castlevania 1 to 2. So that you like get the general idea of what's going on. And I think basically it's just like you so like Dracula supposedly put a curse on Simon when he defeated him in Castlevania 1. Simon starts to realize how it's wearing on him as he continues with his life after fucking eating your tomatoes.
I put it on mute. They're really good.
Still gotta watch you do it.
You don't have to look at me.
Simon,
he's cursed. Simon got cursed, and now he's got to.
So he's realizing
find Dracula's body part.
Yeah, he's realizing how this curse is weighing on him, and someone tells him some like mysterious woman or something, maybe in a nightmare or something like that, comes to him and tells him that in order to lift the curse, he has to go find all the parts of Dracula's body, and because I guess they like dismembered Dracula when he was defeated in order for him to not come back to life, and in order for him to lift the curse, he had to find all the pieces of Dracula's body and bring them together and defeat Dracula again once and for all, and not
all
have
those parts are in a sphere for some reason. You have to throw a spear at the sphere.
Yes,
dumb.
It's very
get
strange.
A rib or head or whatever.
That game was so weird.
Yeah, and then you had to, I guess, you get all the parts, and then Dracula is reassembled, and then the easiest bosses in all of Castlevania history, or maybe video game history. Every boss in that game was really easy. And I remember Dracula, you just beat him up real quick, and then he's done. He's dead.
Super easy. But yeah, and in terms of bosses, there were 3. There were 3 bosses in the whole game, and
The Grim Reaper, you could just run past. You didn't have to fight him.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say you don't even have to beat them all. It's really weird. But on the other hand, the rest of the game is like fucking impossible. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same impossible that Castlevania 1 is, where you just like you can die 3 times in the first level and then just give up forever. But
the jump mechanics are terrible. Like the different platforms you have to jump to. And if you don't get just right, you drown. Die in the water.
Right. There's a lot of water dying in Simon's Quest.
You know what you should do when we're done with this episode? Find the death noise from Castlevania and just put it all through the episode.
I can do that.
Then people could hear it in their fucking nightmares after that, like I did after playing those games for a long time. 'Cause you hear that noise a lot when you play those games.
Oh my god. Fucking.
And can we talk about the fucking stupid transition from day to night?
Yeah.
The whole game goes to a screeching halt so that the nighttime could come on, the curse of the night or whatever. And then it comes to a screeching halt again when daytime comes. The sun vanquishes the night or whatever. And it's like, come on. It's so aggravating for no reason. That's why I played the modded version that sped that up.
Yeah, it's excruciating because Simon's Quest, like I said earlier, is the first actual like Metroidvania Castlevania. So in that game, you do feel like it's almost like an RPG. Maybe you consider that. I guess you don't. I don't think you consider Castlevania an RPG, do you?
I mean, you talk to people, you get clues, you weapon levels, and it's kind of an RPG, as close as you'll get for Castlevania.
So kind of like
Castlevania would make an awesome RPG though if they did it right.
Yeah, well, they did make one. I mean, I never played it. I think Lord of Shadows for PlayStation 3. I think that is technically an RPG. I think.
Another terrible segue. Did you watch the Netflix Castlevania show? Because that was pretty awesome. I watched the first, the anime. I watched the first season, maybe the second season if there was a second season. It was really good. I highly recommend at least checking that out. At least the first season out.
Okay, I heard about it. I never watched it though. I just figured, it couldn't be good.
It was rad. I liked it.
All right.
You had Alucard fucking shit up. And I like me some Alucard, man.
Hell yeah.
That's why Simon's Quest is poop, but the third Castlevania with Alucard and Cypher, or whatever her name is, and whoever the little monkey man is. Like, it's a good game. You actually play with different characters. But you didn't play that one, so we can't talk about it.
Well,
so let's go back to Simon's Quest. No. The rules are the rules.
You can talk about it after I'm done with Simon's Quest. I want to hear about it. Yeah, so like Simon's Quest, there are like actual NPCs you can talk to and like buy items from and stuff like that. And you can actually like map out they don't give you a map, but if you want, you could like, to help you play, you could like map out there's like villages, then like places in between filled with enemies, and then you come to a new village, and then it's split up like that. But it's like so confusing because it doesn't explicitly tell you what city you're in, or
I got lost so many fucking times in that game, and I walked the whole map I don't know how many times.
Oh my god, it's so frustrating. And then to top it off, I knew this going in, and I think you had told me before, but the translation is bad. So
the clues are terrible, and then the spelling's wrong.
Yeah. Like not only does it say like you get the pieces of Dracula and it says you now possess Dracula's rib. I possess Dracula's rib.
Nice.
Not only that, but they give you the townspeople, the NPCs, they give you hints that you most of the time are supposed to completely ignore because they're giving you wrong information,
which is fun.
Yeah. And also, they give you complete, like, vague
gibberish
suggestions that are meaningless unless you're the one who created the game.
Look into the sun and you'll go blind. Your ass bleeds. That's the winter wind. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, there's nothing. I didn't get any of the clues. Did not help. But like I said, I went and played the modded version after trying to play the original shit version. And the modded version, they just fixed that stuff. So the clues were actually helpful. It's like, hey, go sit, stand in the corner for 30 seconds and a tornado will get you. Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have if I didn't.
Versus have the blue crystal of light and the washing machine will run extra hard. I'm like, what you talking about?
You got washing machine on the brain because yours broke, huh?
I fixed it. And also the part that broke, I broke it when I was installing it, but I rigged it, so fuck it, it's good.
So I don't really have that much to say about Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2, but it is like cool if it wasn't a little bit broken because of the translation.
Yeah.
It's more drab than Castlevania 1. The music isn't as good. The transition from night to day sucks. The
pointless too. I don't know why that's in there because that game doesn't need loading screens, so it serves no purpose.
Yeah, all that happens
other than just a transition to night and day, but you could do it in really quickly, not have that.
Yeah, the only thing that happens when they go to nighttime is if you're in a town
up here.
Yeah, if you're in a town, like zombies come or ghosts or whatever they are.
And there's nothing to do at night other than just kill zombies.
Yeah,
all
you
the
have
shops
to just kill
closed.
them
you can't
until
progress the game.
Yeah, you have to kill them until it comes back to daytime and you can actually go in the shops again. And then if you're like in a forest or something, the enemies are a little bit harder. But honestly, you can go to the town where you buy the best whip in the game and then you're fine. So,
don't you level up in this game though?
Yeah,
like your weapon skills or something. I forget, but I'm pretty sure that's also with the RPG element. I think if you get XP, like you can, because I remember grinding a lot in this game.
I didn't deliberately grind in this game, but I did notice a few times I would it seemed like if I collected a certain amount of hearts, every once in a while my health would increase.
Yeah, that's the grinding. You level up.
Yeah, but I wasn't I was doing it just to pass the time to make the day come. I wasn't deliberately grinding.
Fucking boring.
I think my favorite parts of these games are just how they implement, since they're not explicitly telling a story. I like how they tell a story with the music and the colors and the items that you get. I like all the superstition stuff with the garlic and classic stuff like collecting his body parts. There's Christian religious, I guess more like Catholic backdrops often. Actually, in Castlevania 2, you go to a priest to get healed.
Yeah.
It's interesting because if you think about Nintendo, they never have anything explicitly religious or anything like that in their games, but Castlevania is very much specifically that. I mean, it doesn't talk about it, but the whole thing is, I mean, it's Dracula themed, so they kind of had to, but the whole thing is Dracula doesn't like crucifixes, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a European mythology, so it is religious in nature, and they didn't shy away from that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
And the whole
I guess in Japan, Christianity and Catholicism isn't really it exists, and nowadays there's probably more in that country than there has ever been before, but still not a lot, It's a Buddhist country. So Japanese video game makers never go into video games thinking about religious aspects like that. So it is pretty unique that they went ahead and was like, yeah, this is a cool element. Let's keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that whole thing. It's probably the only Nintendo branded game that feels maybe I'm missing something obvious when I say this, but that feels historical in nature and it includes things like that because they're crucial to the story and doesn't abandon them. And I just like all that stuff. I enjoy the garlic, the oak stakes to break the sphere. I mean, you'd think you'd use the oak stake to kill Dracula, but regardless. And to be honest, I loved it. I know it's stupid when you threw the stake at the sphere, but how awesome is it every time you do that? The whole screen vibrates. It's psychedelic looking.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. It's not a bad game. It's just very flawed.
No, and have they ever remade Simon's Quest?
I don't think so, but they should.
Yeah, they should. They could make that a way cooler game.
Oh yeah.
Because it has like low key, it has such great content, and it just wasn't executed super well.
I actually have a pretty cool idea how to make the game better. Now just hear me out.
Okay.
You get the guys from Contra. Take out Simon Belmont. And you fucking machine gun the shit out of everybody. What do you think? Think that could help?
I think that's the perfect way to do it.
I'm going to do that every episode now. It's going to be our running gag. Is just Caleb wants to change with the guys from Contra in every game. Wrestling game? Contra.
Get the guys from Contra.
One of those fun Bible games, those knockoff NES Bible games? Contra.
Oh,
Harvest
God.
Moon, where you're just harvesting vegetables? Contra. Shoot the fuck out of them beats. Your turnip field is a mess.
Jesus Christ. Did you have anything? Did you want to talk about Dracula's Curse?
It's a cool game. You get to play as 3 characters. The stairs are still a motherfucker. The water's still a motherfucker. They just decided that for every Castlevania game, you just have to get hit and fall backwards. That's just one of those pain in the ass elements they keep. So that sucks. But visually, the game's amazing. The music is badass. The boss fights are challenging, but I thought they were more fair. I really liked the game. I don't think there was any faults in it from what I remember. And from what I remember, you get to like pick your own path. Like it was like a choose your own adventure kind of game. So you'd get to the end of a level and then it would show like on a map a split. You could go down and go to the cave level or something, or you could go up and go to the graveyard. You get to pick and it changes the way you play the game. And I don't know if it changes the outcome or not, but it changes like where you go, the difficulty, because some levels aren't as hard, what characters to use. It's pretty unique. And all in all, it's a pretty fun game. And I think it was a good way to round out the trilogy. The second one could have been way better, but that's how most of those games are. Like the first Zelda game, good. Second Zelda game, dog poopy. Third Zelda game, one of the best games ever. That's just how it worked out.
Did you say anything about the story for Dracula's Curse?
I don't remember the story. Yeah, you're Alucard, Dracula's son, and he's got to kill Dracula.
Okay.
He has his reasons. I think it takes after one of the Universal movies where Alucard has to beat up Dracula or something. I don't know.
Did Bram Stoker write a Dracula 2?
My Dracula collection, I have Dracula, and then I read that, but I did not read the other stuff in it, and there's still like half a book, so I know he has a lot of stories and stuff, so I don't know exactly if he has a follow-up to Dracula or not.
Because I'm curious, because there's so many, the interesting thing about, like, there are like a billion Castlevania games that keep spinning off the whole mythology of Dracula, and it's like where they I mean, they obviously keep inventing things to keep it going, or they keep rehashing the same old things, which you can do in the video game. It's like, who fucking cares?
Yeah, nobody cares.
But it's just like fascinating to me also how, I don't know, how it just continues to perpetuate, even though there's pretty much just the one book about Dracula. I know Bram Stoker didn't invent vampires, but this is about Dracula. And there's not and there's not that much actual Dracula content from Bram Stoker, as far as I know.
No, because the Bram Stoker, we'll talk about it in the episode, but Bram Stoker's Dracula isn't the Dracula most people know.
No.
He's not, he has a mustache for one. And he doesn't look like the suave, black, slick back hair Dracula, the Bela Lugosi Dracula. He looks like a guy with a mustache, and he's older. And he does get younger in the book, but we'll talk about that in that episode. But I will say, can I make a controversial suggestion?
Okay.
For Castlevania games going forward? It's not Contra. Can we maybe make a Castlevania game that doesn't have Dracula as the bad guy? Why do we have to always have Dracula? I mean, I guess Castlevania, but that doesn't mean it has to be Dracula.
I want to say that there are. I feel like there are some.
Lords of Shadow on the PlayStation 3 is a game without Dracula.
There you go.
Just like a Zelda game without Ganon.
So I guess you can have a Castlevania game without Dracula, but
there's also a Castlevania game where Gabriel Belmont becomes Dracula. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I heard
doesn't say what game that is.
Well, I think that's like a super prequel, right?
Probably.
As I think it, because I think technically in Castlevania 1, even though the story hadn't been invented yet, you're fighting another Belmont.
I know Bloodlines that we talked about earlier for Sega, you go around Europe and stuff, and I don't think Dracula's the main focus of that one.
Interesting.
World War I era Europe, but yeah, I'm not finding like strictly cool Dracula less Castlevania games. I don't know. But I think you have a cool story. Maybe we have a Castlevania where it's just a Wolfman. Can we go fight the Wolfman? The mummy? Why are they relegated to these little dungeon creatures? They deserve their own motherfucking games, you know?
Yeah, man. Why not?
You get a Wolfman, and you get a fucking mummy, and you get a creature of the Black Lagoon. You strap some goddamn AK-47s and lasers on them motherfuckers, and bam, you got yourself a game. Maybe some tanks and missiles, too.
It's a game I'd play. Metal Gear.
I would play the shit out of that game.
Castlevania.
Yeah. Badass.
I just want to... we talked about it a little bit, but I just want to talk about how fucking awesome the music is. At least for the first one. I don't know...
I disagree. I think all the Castlevanias have cool music.
All right. I mean, I think they all do, but I gotta say, like, when I was playing Castlevania 1, it would be stuck in my head when I'm not playing it. And I'd be walking around and I'd just be, like, whistling or humming the songs that go on while you're playing. With Castlevania 2, as I'm playing, it would get stuck in my head, and then as soon as I shut it off, I forget how it goes. It's like it wasn't
not
quite
as memorable.
Yeah, it didn't quite hit those riffs that twist into your brain.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but yeah. And again, I don't know what 3 sounds like. I would imagine since everyone likes it, it's probably
bad motherfucking ass, man. Yeah, 3's good. There is a couple that actually do have dog shit music. Like the 64 one, I don't even think has music. There's 2 64 ones, and I think they're both dog shit.
Really? It's so
not
weird.
Good games.
I never even heard of Castlevania for 64, actually.
Both terrible. The PlayStation one, awesome.
Why.
64, terrible.
Huh. That's also interesting they had them for both 64 and PlayStation.
I did not play the PlayStation, or no, I did not play the 64 ones when I was growing up. I played the PlayStation one, which was awesome. I was unaware that there was not just one, but 2 dog shit Castlevania games for 64. It was, 3D like Mario or Zelda was, but instead of good, it was just, the camera moves all the fuck up everywhere, can't follow anything, you die randomly, you have the worst enemies. No, actually, the one Castlevania game for 64, I don't even think has music. It's just ambiance. It's terrible. Not good games.
Yeah. Well, if
don't
anyone
look good either. They look like just terrible.
If anyone's curious, you should check out Caleb's other podcast. It's coming out. It's called Dog Shit, and he just talks about dog shit.
It's a good idea. Dog shit. I like that idea. I can talk about dog shit all day.
Different aspects and avenues exploring the shit of the dog.
Today's episode is going to be about the white sun-baked dog shit you find in your yard and what games correlate with that. I would say Karate Kid for NES. He goes for the white dog shit.
That would
bland and unremarkable.
That would be a good alternate series for this, actually.
Okay, Caleb's 10 minutes of dog shit.
But my other point is, this is a true did you know? Did you know that nobody really knows for absolute certain who the guy is that created the original Castlevania?
That seems to be a weird thing to not, put your name to.
Right. Well, I think the whole thing was they were just having fun with it, and they also didn't want to put. That's another reason they didn't put their names in the credits, and they just used like funny versions of the actor names from the movies. I think part of it was they didn't want to have their names on it if it ended up getting having copyright issues, but also they were I think it was just something they were having fun with, and I think it's something they didn't fully expect the success to come out of it. Mm-hmm. People do suspect it's this guy named Hitoshi Akamatsu. He was a creative director for games, and I think it seems like people talk about him being involved with the game, but nobody can lay down for fact that he was the one that created it.
I mean, really Hitoshi Akamatsu is the guy I'd pick. That's who I would think. I'd finger him and say, you created that game. Don't you lie about it.
Yeah. Why is that you would finger?
Mr. Yakamoto, or whatever you said the name was. I don't know. I just wanted to say that. I had no idea who that is.
You gotta finger somebody.
You might as well be the creator of Castlevania. Put my finger up your bum. Making such a good game. That's irritatingly hard. That's a weird. It's so strange that you have a game that's so fucking frustrating, but it's so fun too. Like it's a very enjoyable game, like the Ninja Gaiden game. Super enjoyable. Hate every second you're playing it.
God,
but that goes back to what you were saying earlier about the reward of actually beating it, which you would not get with save states. You would not get that reward of I finally conquered the mountain, because then it's just like we talked about with the speed run. Oh, I just blew right through it.
Right,
that's not very fun.
I felt decent about my playthrough Castlevania 1. As you know, I know I started cheating at the end, but I felt really good about getting as far as I did before I started using save states. Castlevania 2,
2 days of you texting me about losing to Frankenstein over and over and over.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
So is the Grim Reaper, and so is fucking Dracula. But
that Grim Reaper is the one that gave me problems when I played that.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Throwing all those spinny things at you.
And so, but then when I was playing Simon's Quest, I didn't rely on save states. You didn't really need to, because which we didn't talk about, but the cool thing, I don't even know if it's cool, but it's convenient about Simon's Quest is that whenever you die, even if you die 3 times and you get you don't get a game over screen, it goes to the other player and it just switches back and forth. And all that really happens is you lose your hearts, which who the fuck cares? You can just
kill and
farm them anyway. So you never you just come right back to where you died, no matter what. So you don't even really need the save states. And again, I would use them just to save my place instead of, just for my own convenience if I shut the game off. But where I cheated was I used a walkthrough for a good portion of it because of the bad translation. Also because I was impatient, and it just you got to be a genius to actually figure out what you're supposed to do at certain points. People, no matter what age they are, no matter what generation, they say this game is pretty much impossible without having, because I think the manual or something or no, there was something in maybe Nintendo Power or something.
Nintendo Power is how you had to beat the game.
Yeah, you had to have that that explained to you in that.
It sucks. It's not fun.
Yeah, and that's stupid. So I was like, well, if you have to beat this game by cheating anyway, I'm just going to use a walkthrough. And I overdid it, obviously. And that's the only frustrating thing about this game to me, because I remember my journey through the first game. I don't really I remember playing 2, but it's not as memorable, without a doubt. So
I remember almost nothing of that game. I didn't think it was very fun.
Yeah. It's
repetitive.
Got a cool feel to it. But
it's got a cool feel. It looks good. There's some cool levels. You go through graveyards and stuff. But all in all, it's just it's not a very memorable game. It's good for a playthrough. Yeah. If you get the hacked version I got that just cleans up a lot of the problems, it's better. Changes the text and stuff. But even still, it wasn't something that I thought was really fun. It was like Zelda 2. I mean, if you can play it and not get bogged down with all the extra hard shit that's there for no reason, it's kind of fun, but it's not something that you would want to play again, really.
Yeah.
Whereas Castlevania, I'll play that again and again because it's crazy hard and fun.
Yeah, right. All right. We all good with Castlevania today, Caleb?
It could be a little more Contra guys in it, but other than that, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I need more guns and lasers.
That makes everything better.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for tuning into Arcade Bookshop again and again and again. We like you guys who have that stick-to-itiveness for your podcasts like ours. We like doing this. We like playing games and talking about it and reading books and talking about them. So thank you for listening. Stay tuned for our next episode. We're going to be discussing that special book that reminded us of these games, the Victorian classic, Dracula by Bram Stoker. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell those friends, tell their friends, and give us some comments to tell us what you think and maybe what we can do better. Be sure to check out our Instagram page at arcade_bookshop for our playing and reading schedule so you can play and read along with us every episode. And it's also in the show notes for those of you who don't care about social media like me. If you have any game and book pairing recommendations, please email us at arcadebookshop@gmail.com or message us on Instagram at arcade_bookshop and let us know your unique ideas. Caleb, how's DPW?
DPW is okay, man. Not as cool as my new podcast, Contra Guys, but it's
I
still
thought it was
pretty
called
good.
Dog Shit.
No, that's something else I'm working on.
Okay.
It's gonna be a documentary series, actually, docu-series. I'm gonna actually go across the country and interview people and just say dog shit. We'll get the details for that later. But if you want to check out my podcast, that is, I would like to think, not dog shit, you can check out Drunken Pen Writing on all your providers of podcast. You can check us out at DPW Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter /X, and YouTube. I also just got on Blue Sky. I got the invite. But
really?
DPW is not on Blue Sky, just Caleb. So if you want to follow me on there, my name is Caleb James K on Blue Sky. And you can go to my website, which I guess I can include that now, maybe. I don't know. That is calebjamesk.com. And I finally got to share some publishing news, which we talked about on here before. But you can see that on my Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tell me. I heard about this Blue Sky thing.
It's just the guy, Jack Dorsey, who did Twitter. He sold Twitter to Elon Musk, let Elon Musk just wreck it into the ground, which it was already in the ground anyway. And he just started his own version, or another version, called Blue Sky, which is basically Twitter just without the trolls so far. You can only get on there if you have an invite code, or they let you on for a beta tester, but I tried that. I didn't get on for beta tester, but I am on now. I got an invite from my buddy Matt Holland. Shout out Matt Holland. He was on the DPW podcast some time ago. And so far it seems okay. Mainly because all the weirdos aren't on there yet. Some are starting to get on there, I think, but you can set your algorithm. So like mine's just like horror stuff and writing so far. So I don't get all the fucking weird political bullshit that bogs down Twitter. And my views for anything I post on there aren't limited like they are on Twitter, because since Elon Musk took over, if you don't get the Twitter Blue or whatever the fuck they call it now, where it's like $8.99 a month, basically your tweets aren't seen. Which I have before and after of tweets I posted before the takeover and after the takeover. It shows the numbers of views, and it's like nothing. If I may, dog shit. On down to nothing. It's dog shit. I had I used to, I have like 2,000 something followers on Twitter, and I get like 5 views on a tweet. What the fuck's the point? So Blue Sky, maybe that'd be a better place to promote my stuff. I don't know. I like you, I'm not a big fan of social media, and it's getting worse by the day.
Interesting. All right. We'll be interested to hear more about that as time goes on. Thank you all so much for listening and continuing to listen to Arcade Bookshop. As always, do as we do. Stick a controller in one hand and your book in the other.